So in our Parsha today, we read about this procedure for somebody who is struck with what is translated as leprosy, but it's really not the actual disease of leprosy. It's za'arat. If a person is identified, if they're diagnosed with having za'arat, they must leave the camp for 7 days. And then at the end of the 7 days, the Kohen comes out and examines him. If he's clean, he's determined to be healed of the za'arat, then he brings 2 birds. One bird is killed over fresh water, and the other bird is left alive, Baruch Hashem, and it's dipped into this bloody water and is sprinkled on the person 7 times. And then the bird is set free. Maybe a little upset, but he's set free. The person must then wash their clothes, shave off all their bodily hair, and bathe. And they come into the camp again, but they must stay outside of their tent for another 7 days. At the end of that 7-day period, this is quite the procedure, isn't it? They have to shave again and bathe again. And then on the 8th day, they bring 2 male lambs and 1 female lamb in grain offering. And one of the male lambs is offered as an asham, a guilt offering. And some of the blood of that lamb is taken by the Kohen, and it's put on the right ear, the right thumb, and the right big toe of the person who's being purified. And then the Kohen takes some oil and does the same, plus anoints the person's head with oil. And then they take the female lamb and they offer up a chatat, a sin offering. And then finally, the second male lamb is offered as an olah, a burnt offering. This is an amazing procedure. Quite involved. Why do we have all these offerings? The person just got sick. Why are we doing sin offerings and things like this? Well, our sages teach that this mysterious illness, za'arat, is actually not just merely a physical thing. It is because of sin, and in particular, lashon hara, evil speech, gossip, speaking ill of people. They say that an asham offering is given when one misuses a piece of property that's been dedicated to the Lord. So the asham here is for the person's misuse of God's property, their tongue, as God's property. And the chatat, the sin offering, is for their inner moral failing to resist the evil speech. And then finally, the burnt offering, the olah, recognizes that this person has been fully forgiven, they're restored, they're rededicated. And this happens on the 8th day. This 8th day is significant. The 8th day is, we have a normal cycle of 7 days a week. An 8th day is symbolic of going beyond space-time, beyond ordinary life in this world. There's other things that happen on 8 days, as I'm sure you're aware. Newborn baby males are circumcised on the 8th day, and the Mishkan itself was dedicated on the 8th day. And when the priests were consecrated to serve in the Mishkan, what procedure was done? Alan? Some blood. Right. But the priest had blood put on his right ear. This is my left. His right ear, his right thumb, and his right big toe. So what this procedure is saying about this person who's committed the sin of lashon hara and has been restored is that they're not just being restored, they're being elevated. They're almost being sort of made like a Kohen in this. This reminds us of Messiah Yeshua. In 2 Corinthians, it says that he became sin for us. Za'arat. We could translate that as Za'arat. And he is cast out of the city to be killed, as it says in Hebrews 13. He dies outside of the city. But on the third day, he rises again. The third day was the first day of the week, but we could think of it as the eighth day. He arises to this new eternal resurrected life that is beyond the pale of just the normal 7-day-a-week cycle. And he is restored to his former glory, and he is consecrated as our heavenly Kohen Gadol. He even says to Miriam in the garden after his resurrection, "Do not cling to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father." He goes to present his blood as the sacrifice for the sins of Israel and the world, but he also goes to be consecrated as his Father as our eternal high priest. The author of Hebrews says, "But when Messiah appeared as high priest of the good things to come, he entered through the greater and more perfect tabernacle, not through the blood of goats and calves, but with his own blood." We too, if we commit ourselves to Torah, if we commit ourselves to Shuvah, if we commit ourselves to Messiah Yeshua, we are healed of our spiritual leprosy. And we too are restored into relationship with Hashem, and we are elevated to act as Kohanim. Notice very significantly here, this is what caught my eye for the sermon today. The Kohen leaves the sanctity of the camp and goes out to the person who has been cast out. This reminds me of Messiah Yeshua, who left his eternal abode, and he comes here in the form of a human being. He says, "I have come to seek and to save the lost." We too are given this task as his Kohanim. We are sent to the lepers. And who are the lepers? They're everybody, right? Kind of like the question Yeshua's asked, who is your neighbor? Because everybody has faults and sins and troubles. All are broken and scarred, and we are sent to them all. As I was reading over this passage and reflecting on this idea of the priest going out to the person and how this reflects Messiah Yeshua leaving heaven and coming to earth, I was reminded of Yeshua's parable of the prodigal son. Because in that story, you see the father going out. You know, when the repentant son comes home, he finds the father on the road looking for him. And when he throws a party for his son that he's brought home, what does the older son do? He's outside of the party, fuming and fussing that this is going on. And the father leaves the party and goes to the elder son. This is fatherly love. This is what we are called to do. We are called to be like another parable that Yeshua gave, the shepherd that leaves the 99 to find the one that is missing. This is our calling, not to sit in the temple, but to go forth into the world. May we seek to be healed of our spiritual tsa'arat. May we be thereby elevated to the role of Kohanim. May we go out and seek the lost and thereby fulfill our destiny as priests. Shabbat Shalom.